Guys, and welcome to the Real News with Mark Vlcek. I hope everybody's staying warm. The temperature outside keeps getting colder, but the good thing is there's no snow on the ground. There was the other day, but that was nothing. Guys, I'm here to talk to you about a couple things today. Let's talk about Antifa, and we're going to talk about April Ryan. A lot of people are not talking about her, how she acted last week at the press conference with Donald Trump on November 7th, the whole Jim Acosta scenario, fiasco, I should say. I will be talking about Jim Acosta, but right now let's talk about this Antifa guys. I am sick and tired of these Antifa guys. I think they started, what, in 2016, as soon as Donald Trump became our president. They're coming out, they're attacking people. You can see a lot of videos on YouTube of them setting limos on fire, busting up a Starbucks, which makes no sense to me why they're doing busting up a Starbucks, with Starbucks is mostly on the left. So, you know, busting up Bank of America. You know, they even beat up a trash can, which made no sense. I don't know why they're beating up a trash can. But Antifa, they have grown stronger and stronger and stronger, I believe, in forces, not really in strength or muscles or anything. Because if you go on YouTube, type in Antifa, there's videos and videos of them getting beat up, smashed in Portland, and so, excuse me, jeez, that came out of nowhere, Portland and New York and everything. But now, you know, as I was saying, they're getting bigger and stronger. Now they're going out. You probably saw my other episode that was talking about Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk were at a cafe in Philly, and Antifa didn't like them being there, so they showed up and ran them from that cafe. You see Ted Cruz getting ran out of a restaurant. That's around Brett Kavanaugh getting run out of a restaurant. Now, Antifa did not like what Tucker Carlson said on his show about the caravan and so forth. He was talking about the caravan and other things, but they didn't like it. So Smash Racism DC, I think they're called, put out his address, his home address on Twitter. So now these Antifa terrorists feel like coming and threatening Tucker Carlson's house. Well, Tucker wasn't home, but his wife and family was home. His wife and children were home. And so they're standing outside yelling at him and so forth, guys. Let me show you the video quick, so you guys, just in case you guys didn't see it. I found a video about Washington Post put it out. So let's go to that video quick, John.
We know where you sleep at night.
Tucker Carlson.
So to restate, the caravan is in fact heavily male and highly dangerous. According to Border Control, at least one member of the caravan has already admitted to being a member of MS-13. All of this should worry us.
We believe survivors! We believe survivors! We believe survivors! Beto is way hotter than you do! We believe survivors! We believe survivors!
And there you go, guys. There's the video of them standing outside screaming at Tucker Carlson's house. And they also said they were going to go to other people's houses, Republicans on TV, and probably even senators. And as long as you're a Republican, they're going to come and bother you. And that bugs the heck out of me because, one, they scared the heck out of his wife and children. And there's no sense of that. There's no sense of going to somebody's house just because you didn't like what they said on TV. So, you know, I don't like Rachel Maddow. I don't like what she says. And I don't like other people on CNN and NBC, but I don't go and find out their address so we as conservatives can go to your house and scare the heck out of you and threaten you. And this is what bugs me, that they're all over Twitter, because I've been watching these guys and getting some information on them for my show and everything, and that's all they talk about is putting people's personal information out there, like the Proud Boys. If you heard of the Proud Boys, they figure out who the Proud Boys are, who's in the Proud Boys, and they blast their face all over Twitter, then they call other companies that these people work at to get them fired, because in their mind that if you like Donald Trump, you must be a racist, you must be a Nazi, you must be a white supremacist. And this is crazy. And that's what upsets me is most. They're allowed to do this, run around Twitter and do this. But if the Proud Boys, which is not a hate group, they're been betrayed on the internet or betrayed on national TV as a hate group. All they are, well, let's just get to the history of the Proud Boys real quick. The history of the Proud Boys was started by Gavin McInnes, because Gavin McInnes was made of a joke, really. It really wasn't a thing to a group, let's get a bunch of Nazis, as they look at it, together and beat up people. These Proud Boys, a lot of joking, like they make fun of their first degree, second degree. And the second degree is you have to, say that you're a Western chauvinist and you will not apologize for creating the modern world. And the second degree is that you, 5 guys, Proud Boys, punch you until you could come up with 5 breakfast cereals. And the whole history of that is, and Gavin even said on his TV show, is that when he was younger with his buddies, that if somebody like had gas or farted, they would have to name up 5 breakfast cereals while their friends pounded them for doing it. So it's mostly a joke, but now it's getting turned into this whole thing that Proud Boys are violent, or Proud Boys are white supremacists, while they have a South African Proud Boys. Proud Boys are everywhere in America, in the country. There's black people, gay, there's even African Americans, gays, and so on. So that's what bugs me, that they go after the Proud Boys, which is really a fraternity, just a drinking club, really. And a lot of times they get portrayed in the news as violent because Antifa shows up to these nice, peaceful protesters having a protest, not a protest, but like just a rally, and they show up to start fights. They start throwing M80s. If you look up Portland, they're throwing M80s, they're throwing grenades, they throw urine and so forth at these Proud Boys, and they come and attack the Proud Boys, and the Proud Boys do not start fights. They finish them, defend themselves like we are allowed to do in America. So it just upsets me. I don't know how I got all into the Proud Boys. Really wasn't planning to talk about them today, but they're okay with me. Anyways, let's get into Jim Acosta. The thing about Jim, well, let's not get into Jim Acosta. Let's get into April Ryan, because a lot of people are not talking about April Ryan. They're a lot of talking about Jim Acosta and his whole fiasco that he did on November 7th. Well, April Ryan is a reporter. She's been a reporter for 21 years, so she knows better about what I'm about to tell you guys. And during the press conference, there was one guy that asked a question. He was done, and the lady, the intern, that we all know by now, because with Jim Acosta, she was moving the mic to the next person. Donald Trump said, hey, go ahead, I'll take your questions. She felt like she needs to stand up and start screaming a question. Well, she lobbed the question. Well, she might have screamed it because she didn't have a mic. So it wasn't her turn to talk. President Donald Trump did not call on her to stand up and talk. So she thought, I'll just stand up and lob a question at the president about voter suppression. And Donald Trump's like, well, I'm not really here. I didn't call on you. Please sit down. And she kept going. And Donald Trump honestly said, and you can look up the videos, he said, please, I did not call on you. Please sit down. I'm talking to this guy. You're being rude to this reporter right here that gets a chance to talk, and you're being rude. Please sit down. And now, April Ryan went on The View, which that's a terrible show. If you're on the right, you don't, because all they do, just like the media, I think they're just another arm of the Democrats, just like CNN and MSNBC is. They had her on, and she's talking about how how Donald Trump was mean to her and told me to shut up and sit down. Well, Donald Trump did not say shut up and sit down. He said, please, excuse me, I did not call on you, please sit down. And the funny thing is, as the show's going on, she's talking about the incident, and the lady on The View is talking to her. She goes, well, I didn't hear you. I didn't hear your question. He goes, oh yeah, of course you didn't hear my question because I was off mic. Which, it's very rude and very disrespectful to every reporter in the press pool to ask questions. And she was very rude. So that bugged me that she wants to play the victim, that Donald Trump is mean. And when she started talking about Donald Trump is racist, and Sarah Sanders comes out and talks about white nationalism, which makes no sense. You know, they're just throwing our jab at Donald Trump, saying that he's a racist and he's, you know, mean or whatever. But as you guys saw, I'm gonna play this video quick. Just remember, I had the video a little bit. It's mostly on Donald Trump's face the whole time he's talking. But when you hear into voter, when he answers kind of like the voter suppression, that is when April Ryan stood up without a mic, without getting called on, to ask a question. And you will see Donald Trump say, "Excuse me, I did not call on you. Please sit down." So let me play that video for you guys, and I'll be right back.
One of the statements that you made in the tail end of the campaign, in the midterms, that
here we go.
That, well, if you don't mind, Mr. President, that this caravan was an invasion. As you know, Mr. President,
I consider it to be an invasion.
As you know, Mr. President, the caravan was not an invasion. It's a group of migrants moving up from Central America towards the border with the U.S.
Thank you for telling me that. I appreciate it.
Why did you characterize it as such?
Because I consider it an invasion. You and I have a difference of opinion.
But do you think that you demonized immigrants in this election to try to keep...
I want them to come into the country, but they have to come in legally. You know, they have to come in, Jim, through a process. I want it to be a process. And I want people to come in, and we need the people.
Your campaign...
Wait. You know why we need the people, don't you? Because we have hundreds of companies moving in. We need the people.
But your campaign had an ad showing migrants climbing over walls and so on.
Well, that's true.
But
they weren't actors.
They're not going to be doing that.
They weren't actors. Well, no, it's true. Do you think they were actors? They weren't actors. They didn't come from Hollywood. Right. These were people. This was an actual, you know, it happened a few days ago. And
they're hundreds of miles away, though. They're hundreds and hundreds of miles away. That's not an invasion.
Honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN. All right. And if you did it well, your ratings would be much better.
If I may ask one other question, Mr. President, if I may ask one other question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough.
Mr. President, I was going to ask one of the other folks.
That's enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr. President,
that's enough.
Mr. President, I had one other question, if I may ask, on the Russia investigation. Are you concerned that you may have...
I'm not concerned about anything with the Russian investigation because it's a hoax. That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this investigation?
Mr. President.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Go ahead.
I think that's unfair.
You're a very rude person. The way you treat Sarah Huckabee is horrible. And the way you treat other people are horrible. You shouldn't treat people that way. Go ahead. Go ahead, Peter, go ahead.
In Jim's defense, I've traveled with him and watched him. He's a diligent reporter who busts his butt.
Well, I'm not
like
a big fan of yours either, so
I understand.
To be honest.
So let me ask you a question if I can. You repeatedly said...
You aren't the best.
Mr. President, you repeatedly, over the course of the...
Okay, just sit down, please. Well, when you report fake news, when you report fake news, which CNN does a lot, you are the enemy of the people. Go ahead.
Mr. President, over the course of the last several days of the campaign, sir, at the end of the campaign, you repeatedly said that Americans need to fear Democrats. You said Democrats would unleash a wave of violent crime that endangers families everywhere. Why are you pitting Americans? Why are you pitting Americans against one another, sir?
Peter, what are you trying to be him?
No,
Peter,
I'm just asking the question.
Let me just tell you, very simple, because they're very weak on crime.
The question, to be clear, though, the question,
Thank you very much.
Why are you
sit down?
But the question, but you didn't answer my question. Just very simply, the question is, why are you pitting Americans against one another, sir?
I'm not.
Is that how you view citizens of this country?
I'll tell you what. We won a lot of elections last night. We did very well last night.
But in many ways,
I think it's going to have a very positive impact. I watched NBC this morning. They didn't report it exactly correctly, but that's, you know, that's the fact with NBC. Nothing I can do about that. But I want this country to have protection. We want security in our country. I want security.
If it's Mr. President, just wait just a moment. If it's unfair to the country and it's costing millions of dollars, why don't you just
give him the mic, please? I've answered the question. Okay. Go ahead, take the mic. Well, I'll give you I will give you voter suppression. You just have to sit down, please. Sit down. I didn't call you. I didn't call you. I'll give you voter suppression. Take a look at the CNN polls, how inaccurate they were. That's called voter suppression. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I'm not responding. I'm responding to. Excuse me. I'm not responding to you. I'm talking to this gentleman. Would you please sit down? Excuse me. Excuse me. Would you please sit down? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now that the House of Representatives
very hostile. It's such a hostile media. It's so sad. You asked me about. No, you rudely interrupted him. You rudely interrupted him. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, there you go, guys. Near the end of that video, you would hear April Ryan yelling at, well, lobbying a question, whatever, how you want to look at it, yelling at the president about voter suppression. And as you see in that video, he did not say, shut up and sit down. He was not rude. He might have been a little abrasive because April Ryan was being rude. She stood up, not called on, and thought, hey, you know what? I need to score some political points because Jim Acosta is acting a fool over here. And they're going to talk about him. How am I going to be on the news and score political points? That's how I looked at it. So, you know, as I think the president was very polite with her. He could have been a lot meaner. He could have been more rude to her, but I think she was rude first and coming at him and lobbing questions when she's not even asked and being rude to the other gentleman that was called on to ask his question. So I really agitated at April Ryan playing the victim when she was totally in the wrong in the whole situation. But I agree with Donald Trump is that it was very hostile in that room that day. So let's go into the Jim Acosta. Jim Acosta, as you saw in part of that first part of my video I just showed you, that he was asking questions to the president, and the president was saying, you're done, and he was being really rude to the intern that was working, the lady that grabs the mic when one reporter's done and moves over to the next one where Donald Trump tells who to talk. And as you see, he was being very rude to the president. As you see, when he stood up, he goes, I want to challenge you. So already that's telling Donald Trump, and that's already telling a lot of people that listen to Jim Acosta's words there, that he's not asking the question as a journalist. He wants to challenge him and give the president Jim Acosta's opinion. Well, this is my opinion about the caravan, and this is my opinion, and I think it's not an invasion. I think it's this. Well, you saw Donald Trump's like, I'll be president and you run CNN. And so it wasn't Jim Acosta being a aggressive journalist or aggressive reporter in the White House. He was trying to score political points. And a lot of people, they're suing the White House now over this. And they're like, how dare them pull my press credentials? But this has been going on. I think, what, a month ago, they've been calling to get Jim Acosta's press credentials pulled. Stephen Colbert even came out and said Jim Acosta is not acting right. You know, MSNBC's Morning Joe is even talking about Jim Acosta. And even the CNN, there was a CNN reporter or a CNN person that works for CNN, came out and said that Jim Acosta, the way he's been acting, is he's looking to get his own show, get his own opinion show. I think that's what he's trying to show since CNN. And this is crazy because Jim Acosta, if you guys remember during the South Korea president and Donald Trump, while they're signing papers, Jim Acosta is in the audience yelling questions. Well, that wasn't a time to yell questions. He was just wanting to get his voice out there, you know. And there's another time you see a video where he's way in the back of the press bowl. I don't remember what day what was going on, but he was there and a lot of other reporters were there. And he's way in the back screaming a question at the president. Again, just acting like April Ryan here, yelling a question at Donald Trump. So that's crazy, and I think his lawsuit's not going to work. He has a couple rounds here and there, but I don't think overall, if Jim Acosta, my funny thing I was thinking about it, if Jim Acosta does get his press credentials back after this lawsuit or whatever, then what's keeping Donald Trump from saying, well, I just won't do press conferences anymore, and Jim Acosta can sit in an empty room and I don't know, just sit there. But this is crazy. And the other thing from that press conference, the biggest thing was that he said he did not touch this intern, the White House intern, on the arm. I did not touch this woman. This whole me getting my press credentials is wrong, and on and on and on. This man, Jim Acosta, went on. But I did have a video. It's on C-SPAN, but Paul Joseph Watson did another video, zoomed in, and now they're trying to play that it was a doctored video. Now, I'm not going to get into the doctored video whole debate because that's kind of over with, really. But I wanted to show you guys the video. So let's go to that Paul Joseph Watson video, John.
CNN's Jim Acosta put his hands on a woman. The White House staffer was trying to do her job and retrieve the microphone after Acosta had gone on yet another anti-Trump rant. Acosta then used his left arm to push down on the woman and physically restrain her. This resulted in him getting his press access revoked. And who's to blame for all this? Me! Of course it's me! Question for vlcek. Where do you obtain the distorted Acosta video you posted? InfoWars personality Prison Planet posted the same video 2 hours before you did. Surely you don't trust InfoWars! The White House is circulating a doctored InfoWars video. White House uses doctored video to justify stripping CNN reporter Jim Acosta's press credentials. Sarah Huckabee Sanders used doctored InfoWars footage to justify Acosta ban. White House shares doctored video to support punishment of journalist Jim Acosta. White House press secretary shares fake InfoWars video to justify banning CNN reporter, and this is all complete horseshit. Look at the comparison between the original video and the one I posted. It isn't doctored, it isn't sped up, it isn't slowed down. All I did was zoom in. Look at it again. Is this an example of someone doctoring a clip to change its meaning? No. It's virtually identical. Is it 100% identical? No. Video compression is going to result in it looking marginally different. But does it show Acosta putting his hands on a woman to restrain her as she tries to grab the microphone? Yes. Inventing a giant conspiracy theory isn't going to change that fact. As you can see from the original editing track in Sony Vegas Pro, none of the individual tracks are sped up. A track that is sped up would show wavy lines in the original track field, which it doesn't. Now I know how James O'Keefe feels every time he exposes the left. They accuse him of doctoring footage. No, doctoring means deliberate manipulation to change the meaning of the video. Zooming in isn't doctoring. Oh, but some frames might be missing. Wait, this is the same media that demonized Corey Lewandowski for assault based on a video which had just 6 frames. So I downloaded a GIF, exported it to an M2T file, converted it to an MP4, then re-uploaded it to Twitter. Is the compression going to look exactly the same? No, it's going to look marginally different. Does that mean the video was doctored? No, that's not doctoring. As this video analyst commented, any changes, if they did make them, would be incredibly minor and possibly due to working across frame rates and compressions. As Tim Pool tweeted, all of the outlets claiming the video was doctored or sped up didn't even bother fact-checking. 2 different analyses showed it was likely just compression issues as to why it didn't sync. This is why people don't trust the media. They all ran the story due to gossip, not facts. I mean, when even BuzzFeed writers semi-come to my defense, you know the media's reaching. BuzzFeed, there's no evidence that the video was deliberately sped up. Thank you. Now will the hundreds of other media organizations that falsely claimed that issue retractions? Don't hold your breath. The original tweet circulating this fake news that I doctored the video combined have hundreds of thousands of retweets. The clarifications, the ones that debunked the whole thing, the number of retweets they got pales in comparison. The final irony is that while I'm constantly being accused of being a conspiracy theorist, despite loathing most conspiracy theories, the media invented a giant conspiracy theory to distract from a real controversy. They incited a Twitter witch hunt, which resulted in me receiving a bombardment of hate and violent threats. That's how the media rolls these days, and they wonder why people don't like them. Sarah Sanders was right. Jim Acosta put his hands on a woman. He used his strength to overpower her, and that's clearly seen in the video. Does that mean he assaulted her? No, it doesn't. But he clearly used his hand, his wrist, and his arm to push her away. Inventing baseless conspiracy theories about me doctoring the footage is just a convenient way to distract from Acosta's behaviour. Don't take my word for it. Go and watch the footage yourself and come to your own conclusions.
please click the big red button to
And as you see, guys, that video right there shows that Jim Acosta did put his hands on this White House intern. So that whole thing of him going around the media saying he didn't touch the woman, there's your proof. He did touch the woman. And the thing that I found funny, if that was a Republican journalist that did this poor guy would be getting tore apart. The little crazy thing also on that I've heard in the news is that Hillary Clinton is planning to run in 2020 against Donald Trump. At first I thought it was a rumor, I thought it was just a joke, but she has not come out and said that she's not running. So now it's funny to me is that they're going to wheel out Hillary Clinton again because they have nobody. Absolutely, Democrats have nobody to run against Donald Trump. So they thought, hey, we'll just wheel out Hillary Clinton, which I found it's a shocker because a lot of people on Twitter were saying, Hillary Clinton, please stay home. You're not helping us. You make our whole movement, like trying to get people elected, it's not working. Please stay home. So I find it kind of funny and crazy that she's going to run again in 2020. But that's, what, 2 years from now? Who knows if that's really going to happen. I think she'll lose again because with everybody that looking at the economy, looking at unemployment, sees that Donald Trump is kicking butt. So guys, that's all I pretty much had today, guys. Thank you for watching my show, and let's go Grizzlies. I believe what they play Friday, I believe, and let's hope that they win that game and be the champs. All right, guys, thank you for watching my show, and you guys have a great night.